Ancient secrets the West erased, rewriting the book on history.
Prologue. Whispers beneath the ashes.
Why is this page missing? The boy asked, his fingers smudged with dust as he turned the brittle parchment.
The old man's eyes narrowed.
Because someone didn't want you to read it. And with that simple truth, the boy's world cracked open. For centuries, history has been curated, not just recorded. The ink of empires wrote tales that favored the victors, silencing voices that dared to contradict. Civilizations buried beneath sand, burned from scrolls, and erased from syllabuses were not always primitive. Some were pioneers, dreamers, scientists, philosophers, and threats. This is not just a story.
It's a reckoning.
A return to the truths that the Western world carefully folded away, page by page, name by name.
The rewriting begins now.
Chapter 1. The Lie of the Blank Map. It began with a map. A clean, ivory canvas hung in the royal court of 15th century Europe, its borders neatly etched. At its center, Europe, surrounded by vast empty spaces marked with phrases like terra incognita or worse, here be dragons. But these lands weren't empty. Africa had kingdoms that rivaled Rome in wealth and governance. Asia had libraries larger than any in Europe. The Americas held cities built in perfect astronomical alignment long before Newton could spell gravity.
The blankness wasn't ignorance.
It was design. A European monk once confessed, if they knew what lay beyond, they would question who truly reigns. From Timbuktu's silent tomes to the Indus Valley's vanished engineers, from the fire temples of Persia to the sun-obsessed cities of the Andes, the world was never as blank as they told us. Chapter 2. The libraries they burned. The first act of erasure is fire. When the Library of Alexandria burned, it wasn't just books that turned to ash, it was knowledge older than empires.
Star charts from Babylon.
Medical treatises from India. Philosophical exchanges between Greeks and Egyptians. In 1497, Savonarola's Bonfire of the Vanities in Florence consumed ancient manuscripts deemed unholy. In 1562, Diego de Landa, a Spanish bishop, torched Maya codices, books that chronicled over 1,000 years of science, astronomy, and theology, because they were the work of the devil. How ironic!
The devils weren't in the ink.
They stood by the flames. Yet some escaped, smuggled, hidden, memorized. Their fragments whisper still from caves, ruins, and tongues of elders.
Chapter 3. The Black Pharaohs They Forgo.
To speak of ancient Egypt is to speak of grandeur, pyramids, obelisks, and gods with animal heads. But missing from the typical tale is an entire dynasty, the Nubian pharaohs. Dark-skinned kings from Kush who conquered Egypt not as invaders, but restorers. They reigned not with brutality, but with reform, bringing temples back to life and restoring lost rituals. Why were they erased? Because their skin color didn't match the Western imagination of Egyptian royalty. One European scholar once scoffed, to place Negroes on the throne of Egypt?
Absurd.
And so the textbooks went silent. Yet the statues remain. Noseless, yes, but still standing. And the truth etched in granite doesn't lie. Chapter 4. The Astronomers of the Equator. Long before Galileo looked skyward, others had already mapped the stars. In what is now Kenya and Uganda, the ancient peoples of East Africa built the Nabta Playa megaliths, stone circles that marked solstices and lunar alignments 7,000 years ago. Further west, the Dogon people of Mali spoke of Sirius B, a star invisible to the naked eye, only discovered by Western astronomers in the 19th century. But how did the Dogon know? They didn't guess. They remembered. Their ancestors passed the knowledge through oral tradition and ritual, synchronizing harvests with celestial rhythms.
The stars speak, said one Dogon priest, his eyes tracing the night sky.
You just need to know which language they use. So who was truly the first astronomer? The man with a telescope or the shepherd with a story? Chapter 5. The languages that were silenced. Language is more than words. It's memory, identity, power. When colonizers arrived in Africa, Asia, and the Americas, one of their first acts was linguistic erasure. Children in Nigeria were beaten for speaking Igbo or Yoruba. Native American children were forced into boarding schools where they were stripped of their names and punished for using their tongue. In Australia, Aboriginal languages, rich with ecological knowledge and oral history, were mocked as gibberish. By 1900, hundreds of languages had vanished. With them disappeared creation myths, medicinal lore, and social systems. But language fights back. Today, elders record forgotten dialects.
Youths revive lost words in music and film.
The alphabet of the erased is being rewritten.
Chapter 6. The Forgotten Matriarchs.
History books love kings, conquerors, and generals. But what of queens, priestesses, and warrior women? In ancient Nubia, women ruled as kandakes, queen mothers, commanding armies and shaping policy. In Dahomey, now Benin, the feared Agoji women warriors protected the kingdom for centuries, later inspiring the Black Panthers' Dora Milaje. Even in medieval Europe, women like Hildegard of Bingen composed music, wrote scientific treatises, and advised popes. Yet their pages were footnotes, if not ripped out completely. One frustrated historian once wrote, "She led a nation, and all they remembered was her beauty." The past isn't male by nature. It's male by selection. Chapter 7. When the colonized taught the colonizers. They arrived with ships and muskets, claiming superiority. But the colonizers often found themselves awed and embarrassed. When the British entered India, they discovered advanced surgical techniques and hospitals run by Ayurvedic practitioners. When the Moors entered Spain, they brought algebra, architecture, and over 300 public baths. Thomas Jefferson owned translations of Arabic texts on agriculture. Newton read alchemical manuscripts from the East. They didn't invent everything. They borrowed. But few admitted it. It was easier to pretend that civilization started in Athens and ended in London. The truth. It came from everywhere and everyone. Chapter 8. The final chapter was never final. History is not a finished book. It's a living manuscript. Every forgotten city unearthed, every myth decoded, every DNA test linking us across oceans adds a new sentence to the story. The West didn't erase everything. Some truths slipped through. Some were carved into mountains.
Hidden in lullabies. Woven into baskets. Painted on cave walls.
They waited, and now they rise.
Epilogue. The pen is yours.
The old man looked at the boy again. Will you write what they won't? The boy, now grown, dipped his pen in ink. He didn't answer. He wrote, "Because the erasure only wins if we forget. Because silence is not peace. And because the past belongs to all of us, not just those who wrote it first. CurioSphere brings you what they tried to erase. Truth, memory, justice."
Stay curious. Rewrite history.